Hello, Lucy Lawless. How are you?
Hello, Jameela. I'm a box of birds today. How are you?
I'm good. I have never heard that expression before. Is
No.
that a good or bad thing?
Oh, it's a very good thing. Actually, down under they'll say I'm a box of fluffy ducks, which is just. But I would have thought box of birds came from England. You never heard that, huh?
I haven't heard that, but I'll take that with me forever now.
Chirpy. We feel chirpy.
How are you? How you been?
Really, I'm so happy. I'm so busy, and looking forward to the future, and I feel like I'm transforming myself.
Oh, really? In what way?
Yeah. I think I don't know. I think COVID really made me think about what I want and what I value, and not to waste time, and just honed my focus, I think. And I think I was lucky, one of the lucky ones for whom COVID had quite a positive growth effect.
Yeah, I definitely feel the same way. I definitely feel as though it gave me a much needed kind of jolt of perspective. This industry in particular, I feel like it's not just this industry. I think this happens everywhere, but in particular, I think when you are a woman in this industry, there is a special sense of pressure to just keep going, keep going, keep going. Always just feel as though you have to be hyper grateful for any work that comes along. You can never say no, can never do necessarily what's right for you or your mental health. And so that having the world kind of stop for a second and being forced to stop and realizing that actually maybe I need to go at my own pace a bit more has been a tremendous gift.
Right.
And also you spent a large portion of COVID in New Zealand, they were the best at the pandemic.
Yes, bless them. We're going through a little bit of a tough time at the moment, but nothing compared to most other countries, so we're mustn't grumble. But it was terrific. It gave me time to embroider. In fact, a lot of people I know to embroider their lives inwards, to start doing that craft that you never got round to before, to, painting the deck, to training the dog, to baking the bread.
It's so surreal and great to get to talk to you, and I know that you must be so sick of the word Xena, warrior princess, but it's such a big part of my life growing up, and my boyfriend was he found out in a way that I haven't seen him do when he found out I was going to talk to you today. So my entire household, I live with a bunch of boys, and we were all obsessed with that show when we were younger. And as a young woman who needed to see that representation on camera, however, I know that there are probably some thoughts and feelings about ways in which women in action roles in the past have been perceived. I thank you for that representation, because it was something that was so powerful for my generation to grow up on. But I do want to talk to you today about Alexa Crowe, who you are playing in My Life is Murder.
He tells me you're the best investigator he's ever worked with.
Oh, you say that like you don't believe him.
Well, the proof of the pudding's in the eating, as they say.
And for anyone who hasn't yet been introduced to this show, could you tell me about it, what the show's about, and who you play?
Yeah, I play a woman who has lost her husband he was a cop and he got shot in the line of duty, and she's left the force and changed her life, and she kind of shut down for a while, went into bread and stray cats, and then this young, gifted, slightly irritating, brilliant girl walks into her life, and it starts to crowbar open her mean old heart.
Look at you, still baking bread. I love it.
Madison, what are you doing?
Your mate Harry said you needed me.
3 days, no more.
Oh yeah, the band's getting back together.
And she's inveigled into coming back to help the cops solve some crimes that they just don't have the resources to do. And she does it in her unique, slightly quirky way. It's really it's a light-hearted show. I think that's the point of difference.
Mm-hmm.
That there's a lot of dark shows and dark crime and true crime, and this is just more like Columbo. It's a good time. So at the end of an hour, you're going to feel good. We'll have solved a crime and spent some time with some people you like, a bit of armchair tourism in a beautiful, sparkling city that you always wanted to go to, and now we're going to bring you inside my hometown of Auckland, New Zealand.
I love the fact that you're bringing some lightheartedness to murder. That's not something everyone can say. I truly appreciate
It's a
it.
riot.
What's your favourite thing about Alexa?
I like that she's kind of a sexy older woman, and she has a love life, and she doesn't need it, but she has it if she wants it, and there's no paybacks. That's my favourite thing.
Oh, hey, I brought your bread bag back.
Oh, thank you so much.
You were supposed to pick it up yesterday.
I know, sorry. Ran out of time. Why didn't you just leave it here?
When?
When you were here looking after the cat.
Sorry?
No, she's confused. I said Mrs. Tubin was looking after the cat, not Reuben. No, you said Reuben. Who's Mrs. Tubin? Anywho, thank you so much for this, and I will drop off fresh bread to you on Friday.
Cool. And if you want someone to look after your cat, then I'm up for it.
The crime solving, well, that's into the DNA of the of the show. You know, that's part of the promise. That's why you're on Acorn, because you are solving moiders, right? But the added things that go with it is a really cool co-star in the form of Ebony Vagulance, some awesome new male co-stars.
Yeah, I figured since you've been there so often in the last few months.
Sometimes you just get a feeling. I walked in there, looked around. I don't mess around.
And fresh cat. Got a fresh cat this year because the old one couldn't get through quarantine. And she's just a fun kind of rockin' modern woman. And nothing bad happens to it just because she has sex with somebody. Nothing bad happens. Nobody gets jealous, none of that stuff. We're like, we don't want any of that, those old tropes, of romance and sexuality. We're like, no, nothing bad happens. If she has an intimate relationship or something, it's completely fine and good.
Were you able to draw any references from anywhere playing a role like this, especially as we don't have very much representation of shameless sex, of a powerful woman who is the protagonist, the hero, essentially, because you are a hero, you're just a quirky hero, and who also, you have some action still in this show, and you're still tough and the leader of your own story. There's no hero to come in and save you. You save everyone else. And so there aren't many roles like that for anyone over the age of 30. Were you able to draw from anyone, or were you having to draw from real life people for this character?
You know what? I just don't get offered Shrinking Violet roles very much. So, and this one with Claire Tonkin, who's the series creator, we kind of started from scratch, just her and me, and then built the team around the idea. So, I guess I just wanted to play something that was putting good stuff into the world. I've done a lot of dark roles. I've done sex and violence and all that stuff, and it really doesn't interest me. I'm not sure it ever did, but it was just, part of the gig. And I just didn't want at this time of world history, I didn't want to be part of that. I wanted to make something where the men are good-hearted as well. That's the other thing. These men are not jerks. So everybody's mature, and, they're slightly at cross purposes because that's what drama is. It's about friction. But nobody's punitive. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Apart from my character, bit of a curmudgeon, but she's not punitive. Yeah.
Have you had women reaching out to you over the fact that it's so great to see such an empowered role for a woman?
Kiwi women come up to me in a way they never have before, because I've always played these things that were slightly, morally dubious, or they never knew what to make of me before. Now they're like, come to my arms, little woman. Like, they're practically hugging me in the street, which is good and bad. But it's actually nice to play a role that people feel very open-hearted towards, and yeah, it's really nice. And it's not that this is so new for New Zealand women, but they recognise themselves, or there's a bit of wish fulfillment because she doesn't care what people think, and everybody wants to be a bit more like that, including me.
Yeah, and I also like the fact that she kind of straddles both of these worlds of being someone who they find maybe not, not to stereotype anyone, but like that anyone who isn't living the extraordinary life of investigating murders, there's the baking, there's the cats, there's the homebody, there's the aprons, and yet
There's
at the same time,
she's also a little bit of a hypocrite and a little bit of a liar.
what do you
Like,
mean?
she's by no means perfect, you know. She'll be like on Madison's case about, you know, and all the people at the cafe about leaving the doors open and wasting the air conditioning and all this stuff. At the end, she like thinks on the air conditioning, she just lies under it. I just thought, wow, that is something that, you know, I had to make that okay for myself, because I thought that's not the message I want to be putting out to the world. But it's like, you know what? She's Alexa. She's not you, Lucy.
Not
So,
just that,
like,
but also we need that representation. We need a flawed woman. We need an imperfect woman. We need a hypocrite. We don't like, as much as I don't like villainizing women, I also really don't like the deification, or like just making women into these kind of like selfless saints. I think that's also
or
like
men,
equally
anybody.
yeah, it's a damaging trope, and I feel like I love the roles that I've seen some of my favorite actors in, especially for, you know, men being able to play all those kind of different strands of someone, and I just want to see more of that in women and men together, you know, and I think that's another thing that I find really exciting about this role. Do you feel like we need more of this representation?
Well, I think that's just where we're at the moment. You know, there was in the 90s and 2000s, it was all about, they brought back the flaw, the hero with the deep flaw. I mean, Xena was that, and House, you know, he had some deep flaw, and we were like, with this one, we don't want any deep flaws. We just want her real and relatable, and that she's not nursing some alcohol habit, or, you know, there's what you see is what you get. But because she's based on, in reality, she has flaws, so she is still endlessly complex. So I think what we love about heroes at the moment is their flaws. That's what we relate to, is imperfection, which is beautiful.
Well, I think it makes them accessible. I think that a lot of people would like to be the hero, even just of their own life, of their own circle. And I feel like when you see a real human being still being able to step beyond their, I don't know, idiosyncrasies or fears, and be able to do something that helps other people, I think it's inspiring. And I definitely find it inspiring as a viewer. What would you say is your least favorite thing about your character? About Alexa.
About my character, I love everything about the character. The least favorite thing about my job is having to change costumes like 5 times a day. I hate having to change jeans. I just told them, I'm going to wear the same jeans. You can get 5 pairs of the same jeans. I'm not like, I'm a bit like, I don't want to. I won't. It's like, well, you have to, because that was day 3 and you're wearing day 2's clothing. It's like, oh, damn it. So anyway, that's my least favorite thing about shooting this show. You know, when you're shooting a show that is period, you're probably wearing, or you're a hero in a major hero franchise, you're wearing the same outfit day in, day out. But when you play a modern character in an urban environment, they're changing every 4 minutes. Anyway.
But also, like, you rock some very different looks and very different hair. Like, I like sort of like throughout the show. Do you like that, or is that just a faff? You don't want to be in hair and makeup. You just want to get straight into the nitty gritty of the part.
No, I tolerate it. I've tolerated it my whole life, but it has zero interest. I don't even see, like, something about the way my brain operates. I don't even, like, I can sit in front of the makeup mirror for now 30 years and never once really look at myself, because that's somebody else's job. I'm living my life. I'm gossiping with my co-stars. I'm problem solving in other ways. But yeah, hair and makeup and costume and things is just like something that you allow other people to do because it's their job using your body.
Fair enough. And can I ask you about performing comedy? It's really the only thing I've ever done, and I was wondering how you feel about it. Like, what, some people find it harder, some people find it easier, some people find it more fun. What has been that part of this process for you?
Well, I must say, I didn't even think of it as comedy. To me, this is kind of drama, really.
Yeah.
And but I love it because it is kind of lighthearted and you can ad lib. The great thing about comedy sets is that they they're very relaxed, because I think that, at least in my experience, the best comedy is very relaxed, because that's where all creativity comes from, right? If you're tense and afraid, it's very hard to be funny.
It's a bit like an itch.
You should see someone about that.
Oh, anyone in particular?
Yeah, but he doesn't date his patients.
I should think not. That kind of thing can lead to trouble.
So that would be my favorite thing about comedy generally, yeah.
But your character, I think, brings comic relief to so many of the moments. Like, she's just so sassy and confident, and there's like this irreverence to your delivery in this show that I really love. And I love seeing you I love seeing you straddle both of those genres at the same time. Is there anything in particular that you do to get into character to play Alexa?
No, she's as close to me as any role I've ever played. But I rely very much on my co-star Ebony, actually, just like with Renee O'Connor in Xena, like the show is the duo. You know, that's the magic, and that's the magic for me as a performer, is to have that golden person to bounce off.
I've just got a few things to take care of, but then a late dinner would be good. Something fun.
Not really, no.
You know, if you're seeing someone, you can tell me, right?
Okay.
And in this case, yeah, I've got Ebony Vagulance, who's just such a star. I keep saying, you know, somebody's got to make Foxy Brown or something with Ebony, because she's just wickedly talented.
Was that an immediate connection that you guys had? Just instant chemistry?
Yeah, sure was. I was like, there could be nobody else. When I met her, I was like, yep, you're somebody that is, she's brilliant. You can carry the show if I'm not around, and I can stand to be chained to you for 24 hours a day for 4 months a year. That's
it's a gamble, isn't it? Just knowing that you're going to spend, you totally take for granted that these like 30-minute episodes take a week or so to shoot, and you're spending 16 hours a day with people sometimes. It so heavily relies upon, it doesn't rely upon, because plenty of people don't get along, but I think that it really enhances that dynamic, and I think that she is such an energetic performer, and she brings so much vibrance to that role, and so watching the two of you just sort of spark off each other is really, really fun. I love you as a duo.
Me too. I could not be happier. That was just, I feel all proud of myself, like, ooh, she was such a find, you know, like,
yeah,
we're going to make her a star, baby. She should have a long, fabulous career.
Yeah. Well, I mean, speaking of Renee O'Connor, who you just referenced in Xena, she's in this show. Can you tell me how that came about?
Yes, well, my beautiful production team in New Zealand just somehow were able to get Renee in the country. You know, we really had to convince the government of her value to the show and to the fan base and everything, because there's not many spots, even less now than there were then, but to allow people to come in the country, so especially foreigners. So I really thank Greenstone for making that possible, because this is such a love letter to the fans that we always wanted to do, and finally we were able to pull it off. And she plays this wonderful role with whom I have kind of a spicy relationship, and her son, in the character's son, is played by her real son, Miles.
Welcome home. You missed the hallway camera. Good, but not excellent.
What the hell are you playing at now?
Whatever you were doing in there, I'll be able to find a way to see it.
Sadly, you won't.
You're getting a restraining order. If either of you ever set foot on this property again, I'll have you arrested.
So lovely. And have you two guys stayed very tight this whole time?
Yeah, there's been some years where we would talk less than others, but Ren and I've seen her so much in the last couple of years. Quite a lot, actually. Yeah, she's coming on a trip with me to help me in a little project we've got going on. So she's just coming out of the goodness of her heart and giving me great advice, and yeah.
I was talking to someone recently, it was I think Tig Notaro, who was telling me how now she kind of really only takes work where she feels like she's going to have a great time. like with the people, the actual experience
Yeah.
almost means more to her than what the actual project is in and of itself. Do you feel like that's something that you feel now, especially given like all the changes that we've all gone through in the last year and a half? Is that a priority?
No, I don't really feel like that. You know my connection with Tig, don't you?
I don't. Oh,
She used to babysit my child. She worked for my husband, and she was like the world's rottenest production assistant, but she was so hysterical. My husband just kept her on and on and on. And I went to a wedding in Gulfport, Mississippi a couple of years ago, and you know, she's one of those very dear spirits, as well as a great comedian. She's
she's
such
the best.
a good soul.
I think I'm still of that school of wanting to make sure that I work with people that I really like, and it sounds like you've been really lucky in your career that you've genuinely been able to find some gems that you've worked with.
Oh yeah. Well, I feel like most people are good. You do get a few stinkers, but very few. So, and you know what? Sometimes the stinkers are the most interesting. Like my makeup artist and I, Steph, when we meet somebody who is really like just an alien being, we are magnetized. We're like, who are you? we like do this, like we triangulate and like get in. We're gonna figure out what makes you tick, because you are like nobody we ever met before. And
you can always use it for a character later. I think that's something that I find whenever I meet someone deeply unpleasant in this industry. I'm like, I'm going to siphon what I can from you, put you in something that I find inspiring later on. So was it surreal being opposite Renee on screen again?
Yeah, but well, actually, no, it wasn't surreal. It was like sinking into a warm bubble bath. Like, oh, this is just such a like a relief, or just what was it? It's like oh my God, I find myself home. That's what it's like.
Did you feel at all anxious the night before? Just excited?
No. I was so excited to wake up and go, oh, thank God. I woke up every morning going, thank God I get to go and work with Renee again. And Michael, who played Lawless and who back on Hercules, and he was Renee's, Gabrielle's love interest sometimes, I think. Anyway, he was our director on this show, and Mark Beasley was one of our directors on Xena, and he was our producer. So it was a real getting the band back together. It was beautiful.
You play such strong characters in pretty much everything you've ever done, and I think that strongly resembles who the person that I've learned about. Obviously, I don't have the privilege of knowing you personally yet, but one of the
you'd have to win the lottery for that.
It's fine. I'm going to find you via Tig. I would love to talk to you about your passion when it comes to activism. If you would talk to me about that and how you've been able to kind of, I don't know, straddle both having a career in the spotlight and also fighting for the causes that you care about, and how one maybe helps the other.
Well, I'm a climate change activist. The truth is, I didn't make the show to. There are sort of embedded ideas about we set one story in the LGBT, well, actually in the drag world, and there was lots of sort of lessons about what the pronoun business in that is sort of embedded in the story, right? But it should never be didactic. People should never turn on the TV expecting or getting a lesson. Do you know what I mean? It's just part and parcel of elegant storytelling, which was I'm really proud of that. So there is a bit of that stuff, and in our show we're also really committed to raising up talent and bringing up new writers and women, minorities, all that sort of stuff. Stuff's the wrong word, but caring about enriching our community and the creative community. But the truth is, this show, I just want people to have a good time, because the world's really bleak at the moment, really stressful, and just sometimes you just need to be soothed and have a nice little psychic holiday. So it's like, come to my town, let's solve a murder and hang out and eat popcorn, and you're gonna feel good at the end of the hour. That is my activism. That's what I want to give to our audience, and So I'm grateful to Acorn for helping me do that.
And you're slipping in some great messaging along the way. You know, even if you're not trying to slip in lessons. You know, I just did a show with Mike Scher, who, you know, I know you know, and The Good Place was a comedy that had lots of inappropriate humour, but buried within that humour were really important. I don't want to use the word lessons because then it feels like we were preaching to people, but it was an important like direction towards a moral compass of happier people. That we were all examples of unhappy people, and
so nice.
And it was a show about empathy and like how people arrive at where they're at. And I think your show definitely does a wonderful job at that. There's so much humanity and humor and all of these things where you never feel like you're being manipulated in any one direction. And I'm thrilled that Acorn and you were able to collaborate on a show like this. I love Acorn because I'm able to watch all my favourite shows over wherever I am in the world, and I travel so much. And so in particular, British comedy, but also stuff from everywhere. And 2 shows that I think you should definitely look out for if you haven't watched them already. One of which is Mrs. Fisher's Modern Murder Mysteries.
Who is this girl? Meet Peregrine Fisher.
You're Franny Fisher's niece.
God knows I need a good detective right now.
I'm more than happy to give it a whirl.
But also, Aisling B is a joy in finding joy, as is the entire cast.
What and where is our happy place in this mad old world?
I know, this must seem scary. This is...
But she's just my favourite person in anything. But those are 2 shows that I highly recommend that have brought me great joy and comfort, especially in the last year where I couldn't get home.
Oh, okay. I haven't watched that yet. I will.
And it's been so nice to meet you, and I'm so excited for the 2nd season of My Life is Murder. Everyone go watch it, and Lucy is going to be a continuous joy for all of us and a great role model. Yeah.
Come have a nice time with us.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Jameela, it's my pleasure. Thank you.